With that, I have some concluding questions for you.
Great.
These are kind of a rapid fire thing. So
Great.
Here we go. So thinking about volunteer work and community service, what organizations did you volunteer with, and what drew you to those organizations?
Well, I volunteered with teaching students. I volunteered with the Democratic Party. That's how I met Ann indirectly. I probably didn't put in as much time as I should have into philanthropic stuff, but certainly, financially and supporting organizations is effective also. And we can talk about that because it's this business of giving back to the community in every way you can think of. For example, we mentioned on Ann's side, Serena Elias and Joe Elias established the Amber Trust, which was setting up money for indigent Jewish students in Singapore. My grandmother, Linda Razel, during the Depression, gave money to Beaker Holem Hospital in Jerusalem, which was then part of the British colony of Palestine. David Frankel, Ann's father, early in 1933 established a welfare committee to bring Jewish refugees fleeing Hitler into Singapore. I've established a philanthropic fund. As a matter of fact, in the early days of that philanthropic fund, to encourage you and your brother to be philanthropic, I offered matching funds. You'll recall that your granddaughter Lydia raised $20,000 along with matches from me for her bat mitzvah thing. It makes me feel wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Charity, tzedakah, is a precept of religion, not just Jewish religion, but Islam and Mormon, tithe, giving back. And I think that's how, no matter how poorly you're doing in this world, there are people who are worse off than you. Yeah. And you really need to think about them as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's a message or something that I'd like to see perpetuated in my family. Born and yet to be born.
How do you choose which charities and causes to support?
It's hard to say because things change. Refugees come and go. When people are catastrophes come and go. When there are floods or fires and towns are wiped out, you give to them. Wherever the need is most urgent.
Sure.
That's where you give.
How would you describe your sense of humor?
I think I have a damn good sense of humor. It borders on cynical, but cynicism works. And I think that's something I would advise my grandsons and granddaughters and great grandsons and granddaughters to have good sense of humor and appreciate people who have good senses of humor. If you can't laugh even at yourself, you're not living.
Yeah.
You got to be able to laugh.
I have a friend who said, if we don't laugh, we surely cry.
Yeah, that's probably
good to think
true.
through. Is there anything you regret not having asked your parents?
Yeah, much of the things that we described, I wish they had done a presentation like this for me.
Yeah.
And I hope the people who I've excluded from this presentation will do that, because everyone has a story worth telling.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you've always wanted to tell your family, me, and haven't had the chance to yet?
Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. Save your pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. What other zingers do I have?
Growing up is the ability to withhold gratification.
There's a good one. The ability to withhold gratification. And that's really a timely one, because a lot of people know people who want instant gratification. And I think a good person, a wise person, has the ability to withhold gratification.
Says the man who spontaneously bought a Corvette in 1978.
That's right, but I only bought one.
Oh, well, okay, that's a great point. But I think there's also something to living your life. You know, if you constantly withhold gratification and you don't live and experience things because you're waiting for that next thing.
Yeah.
So you withhold gratification to an extent.
Yeah.
But not always.
Yeah.
Other than those little quips, what are the most important life lessons you've learned?
Well, I think life is a learning process and an experiential process. I think one should live life to the fullest, including intellectually. At the end of the day, it's a reasonable question to ask, well, what did I learn today? And if you've learned something new or something different or something you didn't know, it's been a good day.
Well, on that note, today has been a great day for me because I've learned a lot from you. Not just today, but for the past 56 years. What's the greatest advice that you could give to people younger than you?
Well, greatest is sort of the ultimate. I think good advice. Learn, follow your passions, enjoy what you do. One of I think the highlights of me going into chemistry is I never had that TGIF attitude. Oh my God, thank God it's Friday, I'm fed up. I always looked forward to going to work. And there are probably not many people who can say that. Yeah, that's That's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want me, your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren to remember about you specifically? Besides your wicked sense of humor.
Mainly that I loved you all. You know, giving and whatever I've given, I've gotten more in return from you.
Are there any things still on your bucket list? What would you love to see? What would you love to do?
What would I love to do? I can't think of, things that I want. Sure, if I were younger, I'd like to visit China and Japan and take a trip to outer space. But I think, I'd also like to see a happier, better, less fearsome world, a world of peace, a world of happiness, a world of giving. There's so much that we're capable of that we're still not doing. We're killing each other, and
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
yeah.
What would you say is the hardest thing you've had to overcome in your life?
Hardest thing I've had to overcome. Well, I don't feel. I think I've done most everything I've wanted to do. I feel lucky that I've had the opportunity to do it. I've never had doors closed on me or anything like that. So I feel pretty good about that. I got the opportunity to do things and I did it.
When we were getting ready for this, when I asked you that question, what's the hardest thing you've had to overcome? You mentioned to me quiet anti-Semitism. Have you felt that in your life?
Well, a lot of times when I was very young, guys would ride by on bicycles and yell out "dirty Jew" or something like that. A more adult version, when I was interviewing DuPont, I got offers from electrochem and organic chem, but I didn't get an interview from Central Research. And it didn't bother me because I had plenty of choices and I probably wouldn't have accepted them better. But I met Professor Don Cram at UCLA and he said, how's the interviewing going, Cy? And I said, fine. He said, did you interview DuPont? And I said, yeah, I interviewed him in 3 locations, electrochem, organic chem, and Central Research. And I got offers. I heard back from organic and electrochem, but not Central Research. And he said, well, that's odd, because I gave you a terrific review. And then he said, oh yeah, but they don't hire Jews.
Wow.
And that wasn't DuPont policy. As a matter of fact, a few years later, DuPont made Irving Shapiro the chairman of the board.
An Irishman.
Yeah, not, no way. But probably the head of central research in church or elsewhere was an anti-Semite, and he set the stage for that.
Yeah.
So that was an example of anti-Semitism, but I hadn't really encountered it. And as a matter of fact, even when I joined Chevron, a lot of Jewish friends I had said, well, gee, you're Jewish. What are you doing at a place like Chevron? They love the Arabs, and they're making all their money off the Arabs. And I understood that, but I think Chevron's policy at that time was, as long as Jews are sort of invisible, we don't want them negotiating with the Arabs or anything like that. But that's fine. And the head of chemicals at that time was a guy by the name of Irving Levine. And it's basically, and that was fine with me because I didn't have any aspirations to be chairman of the board of Chevron or on the board of directors. So I think it worked out okay for me, and I think probably most other chemical companies feel that same way.
Well, Dad, hopefully people that we don't know are going to be watching this.
Yeah.
At some point in the future.
Yeah.
And they're going to learn a lot about you from the time we've spent together here.
Okay.
And I've learned a lot about you. Are there any concluding thoughts or anything you want to finish all this with? Imagine a great grandchild that you don't know yet, listening to this and hearing you speak.
Sure. Listen to your parents because they've been where you're going. Don't beat up your little brother or sister. Yeah, and just do the right thing. I think as parents, as family, we want people to lead good, righteous, happy lives. Being nice to one another doesn't interfere with having fun or anything like that. Love one another.
Yeah, well, for me, this has been an opportunity to love you. It's been an opportunity to get to know you even deeper. And for me, it's been an incredible honor as your firstborn son to be able to talk with you about these things.
Yeah.
And you've led quite a life, and there's many, many more years ahead. But I'm so glad that we did this together. I'm so glad we're doing this now.
Yeah. Thank you for setting it up. I feel good about having done this. I learned a lot just almost in preparing for this, reviewing my genealogical notes and, as you know, going through cartons of books and pictures and letters that we hadn't really appreciated before. So, as I said, this has been a learning experience for me, and that's one of the objects that we just talked about. Every day should be a learning experience.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Wonderful.
That's a wrap.